Hello everyone, I'm Nige from Nige's Modelling Bench, and I'm the voice that you hear coming out of your computer when you're watching me on YouTube build this this Humber, this Airfix kit. And I'm doing this video especially for the younger viewers or the beginners in the hobby, just to help you along really and give you some little hints and tips. And there's lots and lots of videos on YouTube, and there's, you know, lots and lots of people selling stuff, so be a little bit careful. There's a lot of people like me that are out there just want to help and you know, and show you the way to do stuff without spending a fortune. But you don't need to buy every tool on the market, especially if you're a beginner. But you do need, you know, some tools. I know when I was a kid, I started modelling when I was 6 years old, and it's actually how I learnt to read, because the younger people watching now may be amazed to hear that when you got an Airfix model, you didn't get instructions like this with just numbered circles. It would have been a list of writing, and it would have said glue part number 1 front transverse leaf spring to floor pan part number 2, and then it would be glue front suspension upright or shock absorber, whatever, part number 3 and it gave you the actual description of all the parts, and it told you what they were. And it's one, how I learned to read, and it two, gave me a sort of knowledge from a very young age of how cars work and stuff. And as a result, I am now a complete petrol head. Did the same with aircraft as well. You didn't just get numbers and stuff, you got, you know, all sorts on there. So so yeah, we've done this this chassis now, and we've done step 1 of the instructions. You can see we've got the front and rear axles in. I still don't know if all 4 wheels are going to touch the ground, but I'll show you, if they don't, how to correct that. This is especially the front suspension part of this kit is a little complex for a beginner, but just stick at it, and I'm sure you'll make it work. I mean, where the leaf spring, where the front suspension uprights go into the leaf spring here, on these bits here, those 2 bits there, then, you know, you're laughing. Once you get those in, the rest of it will just fall into place. And the rear axle's a breeze. That goes in easily. So so we've done step 1, and then now we're going to move on to step 2 and get that done. This evening it is Thursday, isn't it? I've lost track of days. It's Thursday, December the 27th, 2018. So if you're building along with me, then that gives you some idea of where we are, and I'll try and get another video up for you tomorrow. But let's get on with step 2 then. Right, let's get this show on the road then. So we've done step 1, which is here. We've got the axles, the engine, gearbox, suspension, everything in. So we've done all that now. So now we're going to move on to step 2, which is more underside work. And we've got an oil filter there by the look of it, starter motor, cross member here for the gearbox, plate that goes across the middle of the chassis there. We're going to put the drive shaft in, the exhaust system, fuel tank, and the brakes. Now the wheels I'm not going to put on yet, and that'll become apparent when we get there. So I've got my chassis, I've got my instruction, I've got my tools. As you can see, I'm keeping my tools to a minimum. I've got a knife, which is 100% necessary. Nice pair of side cutters. I could use the cheap ones, but I've got nice ones, so I won't. And I've got that cheap Tesco's hard nail file, which is great for flat surfaces. I've got my green coloured Flory, what's called a skinny sander, which is great for sort of pretty much everything else. And I'm going to use this blue coloured Flory sander for going around the curved parts. So when we left off, we got up to part number 16, so I'm guessing now we need to start with 17. And 17 is the prop shaft. Now, I think I said in my last videos, I just want to make this clear. This is an old Airfix kit, so it's going to follow part by part. So it's 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And then you see we're following on with all the wheels. So we got going up to 29, and then we've got, where's 30? Oh, there's 30. And then we've got 31 to 35, and then we've got 36s there. Then we've got, see, so we're going up to part 48 in this instructions, and this here is telling you not to cement. I'm sure the black is do not cement. What that's telling you, you need to cement that to the axles, but I'm saying what it is, you don't cement it to the wheels. I'm guessing. We'll have a look anyway. Let's see how we get on. So let's get our sprues out again, and we're looking now for part number 17, which is our prop shaft or drive shaft. And again, as I said before, we've got to hunt through and find it. And here we go. There's our drive shaft there, part number 17. And straight away we can see this model is fictitious because the drive shaft has actually got a bend in it. And unless it had a bearing there, then that would never work. Obviously you can't make a shaft drive around corners unless you put a joint in it. And this shaft doesn't have a joint in it. So I'm using the fine sanding stick initially to remove the nib there. You can see. Then I'm going to get the soft blue sanding stick and go all over the part and remove the mould seam line. You don't need to fuss about mould seam lines if you don't want to, but if you are a beginner and you're gonna, this is a hobby you want to get more into and take it up, you best get into the best practices straight away. And if you look at shows or you look at images of models on the internet, you will see that some people don't bother removing the mould seams, and especially when you get onto adding washes and stuff to make detailed part, make it accentuated, then you will see that, you know, leaving mould seams on looks awful. So this is going to slot into here. So we've got the bend at the front, so obviously the bend is going to go under there, so there would have been a center bearing in real life there. So that's going to push into the back of the transmission there. I did forget one tool, was my tweezers. Where have they gone? There they are. So got a pair of tweezers here, so I can just push it forward, let it bend, and then pop it in. There we go. Now you probably saw then that it bent there because it's so very, very thin. So there we go. Let's get that to go up in there. If you can hear some rustling noise in the background, that's my dog playing with her ball. She loves to do. She likes to walk around the room, dropping the ball on my feet, knowing that at some point I'm going to pick it up and throw it. But she does seem to be learning that while I'm talking to no one, when there's no one in the house and I'm talking, she seems to have learned that maybe I'm doing a video. So playing with the ball is out of the question. But if I said the ball word with E on the end, then that makes a bit of a difference. So there we go. So there's the prop shaft in, and I'm just going to put a spot of glue on that end. And there we go. And you can see again, as I said, this is the beauty of using this Tamiya extra thin cement. No other liquid cement, Tamiya extra thin. It's the beauty of using that. It's got the fine brush in there. It capillary actions like I showed you before when I put that bomb together. It's absolutely brilliant. And you can assemble parts, dry fit them, and then that's it. And I've also noticed on here, you may be able to see I've left a seam line on the axle. You see now, that looks awful as far as I'm concerned, so I need to remove that. And I'll just show you another little tip now. Because you may be watching this as a complete beginner, you may be watching this having done 4 or 5 models, you may be watching this be 50 years old with 40 years experience under your belt. You just want to watch me do this. Anyway, you may learn something. I'm not an expert, I'm just an ordinary guy just like you, as QDC says. And if you've not subscribed to QDC's channel, QDC748 I think he's called, You'll enjoy his builds, they're great. And there we go. So what I've done there, I rubbed the seam line away with a knife, and then what I can do with the Tamiya extra thin on the brush, I can just brush over where I've just rubbed the seam line away. And as you can see, I'll show you in the close-up in a second, what happens is the seam line disappears, because what's the remnant that's left, the glue attacks it, softens it, and it just brushes off. So yeah, there you go. So I've just noticed as well, oh no, it's okay, I thought that gearbox was coming away, but I have glued it down. Right, so there we go, that's that part in, number 17. Now 18 is an oil filter, which is going to go into the side of the engine, and there's a hole in the chassis there for it by the look of it. So now we need to find part 18. And as I said earlier, this is one of the problems with these old Airfix kits. Finding the parts is sometimes takes longer than actually gluing them on. Okay, so it's not on there, but we know for future reference there's the exhaust. It's not on there. It's definitely not on there. Oops. Ah, there it is, part number 18. See, as you'd expect, right next to number 69. So yeah, so you've got 66 there, 69 there, and 18 in between them. That's just what you'd expect, isn't it? Makes complete logical sense, that. Not. So we've got, this is the oil filter, so I'm just going to sand the sprue nib off of there, off the end. And you're probably wondering, why isn't he painting anything? Well, like I said in my last video, I always like to build as much as I can without painting. And that way, if you're new to the hobby, you're going to teach yourself how to paint accurately when you come to paint the detail of the assembly. And B, you'll get better glue joints. And C, if you were to go and paint everything, like if I had painted this, I would now be rubbing down the seam lines and sanding off the sprue nibs, and basically I'd have to paint it again anyway, so what's the point? And also sometimes, particularly with enamel paints, if they haven't gone completely hard, which can take a long time, you end up tearing the paint and the whole job ends up looking worse than it did to start with. So I'm going to grab this oil filter and I'm going to put it in that hole in there, like I think it's supposed to go. And I need to grab it with the tip of the tweezers because I can't get in there, and put it in just like oh, it doesn't want to go. There we go, it's gone in now. So there's that popped in. So just put my finger on there to hold it in place. And then again with the extra thin, I can just go in from behind. Just put a little drop on. And then push that down. So now that's in place. A little bit more glue on there. And there we go. Right, so that's that one on. Now we want 19, which is the starter motor. So let's see if 19's on this sprue here. Yes, there's 19, and 19 is underneath 49 and next to 89. So you can see that's logical. Now on here we can see we've got a ejector pin mark. Remember I said about sanding them off? Now what I'm going to do here, I'm going to remove this while it's still on the sprue, because it'll be a lot easier to do on the sprue than it will be once it's off the sprue, because I've got something to hold it on. So I can come along with my little sanding stick and just sand it like this, just to get rid of it, and then the soft foam one over the top, And there we go, pretty much all gone. Then I can nip it off the sprue. Again, you see with these Airfix parts, they're so close in some of the corners into the, like in here, that having these Tamiya cutters is almost a necessity. I don't know how you'd get them off otherwise. So right, we've got the seam lines. I'm just going to give them a gentle scrape like this. And we've got some connectors, some detail on the back there. A gentle scrape over the front. And then with my soft sanding stick, go over the front. And if this is your first time watching, you're thinking, oh, look at his fingernails. Yes, I know they're disgusting. I've bitten my nails since I was about 5 or 6 years old, which is 50 years now. And I really struggle to stop. I don't know when I do it, to be honest. But I apologise, I know they look disgusting, and I've tried to do this with gloves on, and you can imagine trying to hold parts like this and use a sanding stick is a joke. So, right, so that what I thought was detail is actually as part of the sprue nib, so I need to remove that. So once again, you'll see me cutting into myself here. This is where you say a blunt blade is dangerous, because if you're blunt blade you're fighting, you will stab yourself. But you can see there that no force whatsoever, because the blade is nice and sharp. Once again, got the tweezers, putting this down in that hole in there. No, I'm not. Oh, this is going to be fun. It's going to fight me all the way, I think, this one. So I got it to sit in the hole. I've got the peg just sat in the hole, so I might be able to just push down with the knife and make it stand up. There we go. So now I need to put some glue on there, but I can't get my finger in to hold it. So I need to hold it upside down like this and just touch the pin some more just to make sure. And now that's in. Now I can just give that a little nudge with the tweezers and make that stay in place like that. There we go. Now you can see that in there. And I'm just going to put some glue in there just to make sure it doesn't fall off. Right, so that's that in there. So that's 18 and 19. Now we've got 20, which is this chassis cross member, gearbox support, whatever. Yes, it's the gearbox support. So we want part number 20. I can't see it on there. I can't see it on there. It's not on there. I can't see it anywhere. It's probably hiding on this one. If you can see it, shout. There's part 21. So I'd expect it to be around here somewhere. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cut part 21 off, and I'll find 20 in a minute, rather than have you sitting watching me trying to find stuff. There's the ejector pin mark on the back, but I don't need to worry about that. And if you look, you can see it's like a kind of, it's got a tapered shape to it, and the narrow part goes to the back. So we'll put that like that. Yep, and we can see that that is fitted in there lovely. Just get our extra thin, dab it on like this, dab it on like that. So guys, did you have a good Christmas? Did you Did you get any models for Christmas, or some tools, or did you get the kits you were dreaming of? Or if you're a complete beginner, did you get your first ever model and that's why you're watching this? Whatever, I hope you're enjoying it. And yeah, leave me a comment down below. Tell me if you think I'm going too slow, too boring, you fall asleep. Tell me if I'm going too fast. Tell me if there's something you want to see covered in more detail. Tell me if there's a certain model you'd like to see me make. I can't say 100% I'll do it, but if it's something that interests me, I'll do it. It'd be good to hear from you guys. So I've done 21, now I want 22 and 23 is the exhaust. So let's get that. We did find the exhaust earlier, didn't we? So there's 23. So we'll just clip this one off the sprue. There's that one. Now I want 20, which is just a pipe. I'm almost wondering if I've got a sprue missing here because, oh, there's 20. Sorry, 22, not 20, 22. Okay, so that's those two off. So now we need to be careful. We need that there as a pin, so we don't want to remove that, but we've got the sprue nib there. This part here is one of those ejector things I was telling you in the first part. So that can come off. So remove that. And like I say, the beauty of these professional little clippers is that you can get in very close without causing any damage. So I'll just sand that sprue nib off of there. There we go. And sand that bit off of there. You might be thinking to yourself, why is he making so much fuss of all this stuff? It's underneath, you can't see it. Well, when you're modelling, you'll there's two ways you'll think of things. You'll either think of it, well, if you can't see it, what's the point? And I can understand that. But also, the other way to think of it, like me, is this is a hobby. And it's not a race. It's not a race to see who can finish their model first. It's not there's no race against the clock. And if you haven't heard of group builds, some forums and clubs run things called group builds where everybody gets together and sort of builds the same model. You don't get together, everybody just builds the same model and you follow each other's progress. And even then, you know, that what they'll do is they'll say start something on the 31st of January. Sorry, on the 1st of January, and it will be, say, the group build will be Russian bombers. So that could be any aircraft ever built by the Russians that drop bombs. So you could choose to build a 72nd scale little bomber, or you could choose to build one of those monster trumpeter 72nd scale bombers, or you could build, you know, something else that drop bombs that's more modern in 32nd scale, that's a massive project. And what they tend to do is they will tell you at the beginning, they will tell you the start and the finish date. So they will say to you, this group build runs from the 1st of January to the 1st of June. So then you've got 6 months to build a model, or 5 months, is it? 5 months to build a model. And you know, you should be able to build anything in 5 months if you've got a reasonable amount of spare time. But hey, if not, then do something simple. You know, if even if you've only got a couple of hours a week to spend, you should be able to get a 72nd scale aircraft done in that time, or a 72nd scale smaller aircraft. Okay, so there we go. Now I'm going to show you something now that will always add a little bit more realism to your model vehicles. That is the exhaust. Now, you can buy all the little micro drills and stuff, which I'll show you in a second. But if you look at this, I'm going to show you on the end of this exhaust pipe, it's just blank. there's no hole there, there's nothing, it's just, in fact it's not even flat. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to sand the end of the exhaust pipe flat first of all. So now we've got a flat face to deal with. Then I'm going to take a pin. Now what I've got here is it's a sharp point which is mounted. So what I'm going to do is with the center, I'm going to get this pin and make a mark. Just gently pressing, and now I know I've got a mark in the center. Yep, so I can do that like that. Now I'm going to use a drill, but you could use the end of a knife. You could go in with the end of your knife. This one I've actually managed to snap the very sharp tip on. So you could go in with your knife like this and make that, open that out. You can use a drill. You could use a hot pin, or not a hot pin, but a warm pin. And basically that will add a lot of realism to your model. Now I'll do this now so you can see it being done. I think I've got a very fine drill already mounted up in a chuck. So what you need, you can get these in Hobbycraft, they're very cheap. It's a little pin vise, and it comes with all the different chucks for different size drills. And you can buy these drills again in Hobbycraft or whatever, in your local model shop. Be very wary of the sets you'll see like on eBay and stuff for £2. If you're going to buy a set of these, make sure they cost at least a £5, because I've bought some in the past and they have been awful. Instead of having all the different sizes, it was labelled up as like 0.3 up to 1.6, but like the first sort of 5 drills were 0.5 and then the next 5 drills were 0.8, and so they weren't even the right sizes. And this one here is a 0.55, and what I'm going to do is just go on the end of the exhaust and just get it in there, and whoops, I slipped off the side. Yeah, this drill's knackered, I think. There we go. Nope, that drill's knackered. So I'm not going to use that one, so I'll go up to the next one, which is 0.6. What I should do is, I've got a terrible habit, I damage a drill and then I put it back in the box. I bet this one's damaged as well. And what I should do is just throw them away. Oh, there we go, this one's drilling. So drilling the end of that out now. As you can see, the reason for having these is that end stays that, so you can put that in the palm of your hand and you can twist the drill like this, you see. So that's really handy. That drill's also knackered, so I'm going to put that down there and not put it back in the box. But I do have another 0.6 in the same slot. So there we go. Yeah, I bought a load of these drills off of Alibaba once. No, not Alibaba, AliExpress. And I went through them with a magnifying glass, and I think out of 10 drills, I think 2 were really good. There we go, that's actually drilling, that one's much better. So there we go. If you're an absolute beginner, I would suggest you ignore this, but think about it going forward, because what you'll see, what I'll do now is put the drill back in there and just pull it over to one side. Because what you'll see now just looks so much better. There you go. So now you can see the end of that exhaust is drilled out, and it just looks like an exhaust pipe instead of a lump of plastic as it looked before. So there we are, so that's that done. So we've sanded all the seams off of these, haven't we? Did I sand this one? Yeah. So now what it's telling me is to put 22 inside of 23. I don't want to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fit 23 first. Sorry, 22 first. Yeah. So again, I can glue it from the back. There we go, that's that in. And then what I'm doing is fit this on now. If I glued them together first, then I may not have got the right length. So I'm just going to put a dab of glue on there, a dab of glue on there, and a dab of glue on there, and then push them down together. And now obviously that exhaust pipe needs to be just below the wheel arch. Oops. Like so. For some reason it's kind of springing up, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to cut the end of this off. And then put it back on, like so. That's better. Just clean that up there, clean that up there. And there we go. So we've got the exhaust manifold at the front, going to the downpipe, into the silencer, and then out the back there. Oh, I think I can see what's wrong. I think on this rear part here, that's bent, and that needs to be bent down like that. I think that's why I've got that funny angle. Yeah, there we go. That looks better already. So there we go. And I've also there, look, I've left a seam. Is naughtily a word? Not sure that it is. I've left a seam on the back of that silencer there, look, so I'm just going to gently scrape that away. And then put a glue on there. You don't really need to fuss too much with the exhaust, because if you're going to make it rusty, then it's all going to get it's all going to look different anyway, because it's all going to be well, I'll show you how I do a rusty exhaust. So yeah, although this video is fundamentally aimed at beginners, it's going to grow into sort of you know, beginners with some experience, if you like. Like I say, please remember, I'm not an expert. I'm not telling you how to do anything. I'm showing you how I do it. As you can see me rubbing down plastic. This is one of the problems with these older kits, is you get the flash and on the edges and stuff that needs to be cleaned up. But when we prime it, I'll show you then when I've primed it, you'll see it will stick out like a sore thumb. So there we go, that's the exhaust system on. So that's 22 to 23. 24 is the fuel tank. I've seen that, so I know we've got that here somewhere. I still haven't found that cross member, part number 20. This is annoying. No, there it is. I've just spotted it on the it's here. So there we go, that's that. We could just fit that on there like so. Yep, that goes in there like that. And then brush some extra thin into the joint. And that's it. That's not going anywhere. So that's that on, and this cross member part here. Just give that a clean up, and then that is going to go on the chassis like that. And that is our cross member. And there we go. Now, as far as I'm concerned, that's step 2 complete. Now, I said about leaving the wheels. The reason I want to leave the wheels is because one of the benefits with this kit is you've got the wheels here, and the tyres are separate. Normally with kits like this you would get the wheels and tyres all together, and you'd have to paint it and then carefully mask or whatever, or be very careful you paint the tyres. Whereas on this kit they're separate. So what we can do is paint the wheels, paint the tyres, at least on the front faces, then assemble everything, clean up the seam, and then all we've got to do then is, once we've done that, we can mask the wheel and the tyre together with a lump of blue tack, and then we can paint the outside of the wheel without risk of getting any black paint on the actual wheel itself. Now, the reason I talk about masking is throughout this model I will be using an airbrush. I'm not going to teach you how to paint with an airbrush. There's millions of videos on YouTube that will show you that. But what I will do is show you about masking and the process and how I go about it. Like you can already see, I'm building all of this before I do any painting whatsoever. And I'll probably be building this, and then I am building this, and then I'll probably be masking up and painting the chassis black and everything, just to show you how that can go as well. And yeah, it can be quite involved, especially with that exhaust in the way. I might also show you how to use liquid mask, which you brush on, and yeah, so hopefully you'll enjoy it. So I'm going to call that a day there. Oh no, what I'll do, just look at these brakes. You can see what they're saying here is don't glue them on. So if we look at part number 30 here, just give this a clean. Needs a bit more cleanup, but if you look on there, we've got you see it's like a slot taken off, and on there we've got the same. So this should go over that pin there, and it doesn't, it needs to be drilled out. So that needs to be drilled out for a start. So let me just check it's not a piece of flash. Just clean that out with a knife as you saw me do there. Blow out the residue. Let's see if that'll go over now. Oh, there we go. So all it was a bit of flash on the edge of the hole. And you notice then I didn't force it, I made no fuss about it, just give it a clean. You don't need to force anything. Now I don't know why you wouldn't glue that on. What they're telling you is don't glue it. So what I'll do is I'll get all those off and cleaned up, and I'll glue them on off camera. Or no, I'll leave them till next time so you can see it all done. If you're bored and you don't want to see this whole kit being built piece by piece, please let me know. Likewise, if you do like seeing the whole thing, then let me know, and I'll take you right through every single bit I do, and you can see every move I make. It'll take a lot of parts, a lot of video parts, but I can do it that way if you like. So anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and the notifications bell, and then you'll get an alarm come up when I put the next video up for you. And yeah, I'll see you all soon, and if I don't see you beforehand, Happy New Year. Bye bye.